Good afternoon, everybody. Car Biker here. Just out for a quick lunchtime spin on the animal. Spotting random wives at the time. I suppose it's quite a weird thing to say, really, random wives. My wife. I only have one. Yeah, just going for a quick spin, and I thought that I would just do a quick video on a topic. And it's a topic related to a podcast I was listening to the other day. It was a new podcast I'd subscribed to called You Are Not So Smart. I don't really know what the podcast's about yet, but the first one was about limitations of attention. And I thought it was quite apt. And they actually talked about motorbike accidents in it. I thought, oh, talk about that's quite interesting because it relates to a couple of things that I might have mentioned before. And it added a couple of bits that I hadn't really thought of before. And this podcast was talking about the ability for people to focus their attention at the expense of other things. And they came up with a good example of how people think things work. I'll go through the example first. I'll try and do it quicker than they did though, because it's quite a long podcast. And I have a habit of rambling, as I am now. They were talking about the idea of a cocktail party. Not something I've ever attended, but I have been to parties. And I have been in crowded rooms where somebody's trying to get your attention. And they explain about the brain's quite impressive ability to hold a conversation in a room where there may be another 50 conversations going on, and completely block out those other conversations and manage to listen to just one person. But also have the ability that if somebody else in that party that you're at says your name, often you'll pick up on that and your attention will be distracted because of that thing that happened that was out of the ordinary, but that matched a pattern you were expecting to hear. Now, they pointed out that a lot of people think that's how vision works too, but vision doesn't work anything like the way that most people think it works. A lot of people think it's like a video camera and you're taking in everything around you and playing it back inside your brain and able to take everything in and react to the unexpected and whatnot. They also pointed out, by the way, in the cocktail party thing, you don't always hear your name. So when you're trying to get somebody else's attention, they don't always hear you first time. And that's more like vision. So the vision bit, the problem is that you only see a tiny amount in any detail of anything you're looking at. And it's the bit right in the middle. And then by looking around, you start to build a picture, a mental picture. And your brain is constantly trying to fill in details. And it fools you. And it fools you in weird ways. I mean, one of the ways that wasn't mentioned in this, but that I've read about before, is something that most people have experienced if they have a clock with a second hand. And it's that experience that you look at the clock, and it seems that for several seconds, definitely longer than 1 second, the second hand doesn't move. And you think, oh, my clock stopped. And then it carries on, and you think, oh, that was a bit weird, and you don't really think anything else about it. But that is actually your vision not catching up because it can only see this tiny portion at once. But then once it has caught up and you've recognised the movement of the second hand, your brain fills it in, and it fills it in the past. So it actually fools your memory so that you think you saw a stopped clock when actually it wasn't stopped at all. And the attention thing has this problem amongst the others. It really, you're always directing your attention to something and your brain is filtering out everything else unless something really out of the ordinary happens. I mean, we're talking evolutionary stuff now. If a saber-toothed tiger suddenly appears, you might notice it. Now, as bikers, we often go out for a ride and we can't understand how we have been missed. We're riding along a road. It's not a car, but it's not a small piece of machinery. It weighs the best part of 1/4 of a ton made of metal and plastic, and it's got lights all over it. And I'm wearing a bright orange helmet, and some people are wearing high-vis and all these kind of things. And we're often surprised that car drivers don't spot us. Because we're driving along if we're in our car and we see bikes all over the place, don't we? But that's because we've trained ourselves to be aware of bikes. We are bikers after all. We're aware of these dangers and we're looking for them all the time. Car drivers in the main have never ridden a bike, probably never been on one. And they're focusing on the cars, because you come out to a junction, you want to turn out onto a main road from a side junction, you're focusing on the cars that are coming from both directions. Not everyone, granted, I mean, don't put this comment in, but you know, not everyone, quite a lot of people aren't looking at all, they're focusing on the phone. But the ones who are looking are focusing on the cars, and they can be looking right at you, apparently. You can see their eyes pointed in your direction when you're on your bike. But because they're so much looking for cars and directing their attention towards cars and vans and trucks, it's not that they don't look, it's that they don't see. And it's not necessarily that they're stupid or idiotic or bad drivers, it's just because their brains aren't wired up to see us. Anybody who's, just to give you another example, anyone who's tried it, it was mentioned in this thing a lot. And it's hard to tell you to try it without giving away what it is, but there's the invisible bear experiment. And it's absolutely fascinating. If you haven't tried it, pause this video now, go find it on YouTube and watch it, because I'm going to mention what it's about. So pause this one so I don't tell you and ruin it for you. Paused it? Excellent. So the invisible bear experiment is an attention experiment that shows just how bad the brain can be. And if you're watching this far and you've followed instructions as you should, you know what the experiment is. And it's that they start with about 8 or 10 people in a kind of sports hall. This is on the original one. It's been repeated many times. In a sports hall in the basketball gear, and they've got a basketball. And the rule is of the experiment, the game you have to play, is you have to watch them pass the basketball backwards and forwards. And your task while you're watching is to count the number of times that the ball is thrown and caught. And the vast majority of people who do this experiment watch it, count it, and come up with an answer. And the answer may be right, it may be off by one if they've miscounted. But that isn't the point of the experiment. The point of the experiment is that in the middle of this, a man in a bear costume runs out into the middle, in between all of the people who are passing the ball around. He runs out in his bear costume, he stands in the middle of the picture, completely visible, and he starts dancing. And he finishes his dance and runs off. And just after that, the counting stops. And the vast majority of people don't even realise that the bear is there. They never see the bear, hence the name the invisible bear. And it's because their attention is so focused on the job they're doing that they don't see something even though it should be hugely unexpected. This isn't somebody on the phone going a bit quick or a bike in picture. This is a dancing bear. And it presents us with a problem as bikers. Finally getting to the point I am. It presents us with a problem as bikers, and the problem is that even people who look diligently don't see us always, because we're not enough of a difference, we're not enough of a surprise, or their attention is so focused on something else, on the looking for cars, they just don't see us at all. And this is played out over and over again in these clips videos where you see people pulling out of junctions, biker goes mad because they're not prepared for it. Maybe the biker is so focused on riding down the road that they don't even see the car that's about to pull out. I've not thought of that one before. Maybe that's in there and they don't have the chance to prepare for what is the other person's fault, but fault doesn't help you when you're in hospital. So what do you do is the question, because this is one that I think about when I'm thinking about these situations. What should you do? And I go back to my IAM and ARB type days where we discuss this kind of thing. And there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, one thing is make yourself more visible. So I'm, you know, to this car in front of me, I'm probably not very visible at the moment. It might not I'm there, but I'm not very visible because I'm just an unmoving spot in the same place in his mirrors. If I want to make myself more visible though to him, or more importantly, because I'm not planning on overtaking him, I'm doing the speed limit, more importantly to somebody who might be coming out of a side junction ahead who might not see me, I could just do this. Because now I'm a bright light moving within his vision. Of course, I could still be a second hand on a clock, I still might not get picked up, because a lot of people, they get to a junction and they look like this. They don't look like this. Which is what's important, is to actually look for a good second or two and really kind of scan around and look for, well, for bikes and bicycles and pedestrians and everything else. But we can't make them do that. So the other thing you can do is get ready. If you see somebody who's about to pull out of a junction and you think they're about to come right across the front of you, or turn left in front of you, right if you're in America or a country where they drive on the right, why not put yourself there and do this? Just slow down a bit and just get ready until you are absolutely certain they have seen you, or you're close enough that you're going to get past and there's no way they're going to hit you anyway. So I suppose that's a message for the people who are putting these clips videos up of being shocked, surprised and angered by someone pulling out on them. I really should stop going on about that, but it just does my head in. But it is a real problem, and I think as the person on a bike who's probably going to come off worst if there is an incident or an accident, even though it's not our fault necessarily, we have to be aware that people will not see us even if they really do try and look. One of the biggest accident types there is the Smidsy, isn't he? The sorry mate, I didn't see you accident. And even the other day on my way down to Mr. Skegness Cruiser's ride out, we pulled into services, and as I was riding on this little straight road, somebody pulled out of the petrol station while staring directly at me, just pulling into my path. And it's probably the case that they just didn't expect me to be there. Luckily, I was aware they were there and moving, and managed to get out of the way before they hit me. Anyway, I thought I'd put that out there. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it. I've now used up most of my lunch hour, so I'm going to go back, hang my helmet up. Hopefully it'll be like this again later. It's the middle of October and it's 22 degrees. It's lovely. But yeah, I'm going to head back now, so I'll sign off, go back and see my random wife. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Oh, here's two of them, look. Little wobble of the handlebars, get that light flashing.